Welcome everyone for joining us tonight. I'll, uh, I'll start slowly and give stragglers an introduction. Yeah, some noise in the background. If you have any questions, comments, we've got a chat box back there. It looks like there's already some chat going on there. For those that don't know, I think most do, we have a channel that we set aside on a communications application called Slack. And Slack is like a business messaging application. We have a channel just set up for this Office of Shaman Summit series. Questions posted. A good way to pose a question, answer a question, see some discussion between these evening summit series. What we're covering here, as we've said repeatedly, is really a model. You know, we're building a model. We're taking 30 some odd days to build a model or show you a model of way to understand. I could say thought, but I think it would be more clearly to say how you get along with others, relationships. This is a relationship model. And nothing in this model is something that you don't already do. It's more a model of understanding how the things you already do come together so that you can do them better. What do you think about that? I mean, that's what a model is after all.
Terry, do you think you could pull up that picture of the triangles?
Sure.
Here comes some triangles. Jenny, did you have anything in particular that you wanted to cover or talk about or point out here? Or you just wanted people to see the model?
Well, that's part of it. But, you know, if you can really imagine yourself, speaking of relationships, and looking at this diagram, it really puts it into perspective. You know, if you were to imagine yourself as you being on the right or the left side, you know, either the red or the blue triangle, you know, hold on, I've got some child iPad in the background that sounds louder. Hold on.
Where we're competing with children's videos? Well, until Jenny gets back, as she's pointing out, yeah, look, there's a right and a left side. Two people, an interaction between two people. You have these all day long. This is what you know, this is just representative of 100 things you've done already this week, and 1,000 things this month, and 10,000 things you've done this year. That's all it is. It's just a way to understand how we relate to people. And why would we want a model? Maybe a better way to say that is, why would we want a map? Well, you got a good map, you can get to where you're going better. Without a map, you're gonna go the same way that you always go. It's gonna be your familiar route, even though there may be another way, or a way that you might get more results, whatever that means for you. You back, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. I did I did some filler while you were adjusting child iPad volumes.
Daniel Tiger was winning.
What does that mean? What is that? What's that?
Daniel Tiger is a child's program, through PBS Kids.
Okay.
So it was much louder than what I could hear you.
All right. We don't want the child's program trumping our adult
Adult,
program.
right?
Go on.
Well,
You were saying.
I've had to consider this from a number of different perspectives. Like from my history and the agreements that I've held and ones that weren't so beneficial to me, and in every communication, you know. What's actually being done, what agreements are you making? I mean, you use it for business purposes a lot,
Yep.
um, I'm not a corporate lawyer, so I've considered where the things that you say and the things that you do, but I've had to think of it more so with what we do in the float centers. I mean, it was the first time I really had to consider things like this. But
I think
also,
I met you when you were at a float center just as a client, even before you got involved in anything.
yep. But this
You
put a whole
had a
different,
hoodie on.
yep. This put a whole different spin on it,
Okay.
Because as I went through looking at my programming and what I do on a normal basis, which is with B1 function, and how my programming has worked or not worked so well for me, both of those things, and the people on the other side, that I've been talking to or not, in relationships with, and what I've been doing with them, really. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, So yeah, it's made a huge difference as to how I see what I'm doing.
Okay. Well, I have a question there then.
Yeah, okay. Shoot, Ken.
Be careful. I don't even know the year, because I've known you for 5, 6, I don't know, 6 years. I met you over at in Bloomsburg, PA, at the Art of Floating Float Center, and I think you had a hoodie and you also had a hat. It just looked like you didn't want anybody to even see who you are. Yay or nay, right? That was
Well, that's been part of what I've rewritten too. I mean, I was pretty good at hiding from people.
Yeah. Would you say
Like I
that
said in other podcasts.
yeah? Would you say that hiding, even though it could seem like a non-communication, was in fact a communication?
Well, absolutely, because I was scared of the entire world. It seemed like, but I didn't realize it because for me, I don't know. Even though I'm a chick, I always put on this tough guy kind of persona, like I got this, but I didn't really have it, But that was a part of the hiding too,
Okay. What were you scared of the world about?
Well, when I was younger, you know, well, I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, and it's like, it's redneck city here, and well, being the only Asian girl, I mean, that was kind of wrapped up in my mom is white too, and I was mostly raised by my mom, and and she didn't really know how to deal with how people saw me either. A lot of people asked me if I was that, well, a lot of people were asking my mom if I was, if she adopted me and such like that. And So, which led to other whole series of things as well, you know. Like, but my mom hides too, you know, so it's also a learned thing as well, you know, which is part of an agreement in my family, you know. Rather than deal with things, we either shut down, we hide, we just don't deal with it, you know.
Yeah, I can relate that there's a flavor of that in the Kaplan family. My flavors comes in the form of polite winks and smiles, and we're the best, but not much ever really gets said. And it very much, you know, I agree with you. It is a communication, and I wasn't aware what I was even communicating. How about you?
Well, I wasn't then, but I'm pretty aware of it now. I mean, I still get caught in places, you know. Um,
Yeah, I find you to be you to be pretty freaking on point. You know, persistent and you know and finding things out now, and certainly compared to the Jenny that I met just 5 years ago. I don't know whether you'd agree with that.
well, I think I've been pretty hard-headed on learning about stuff, you know.
Oh, come on, really?
Yeah. Well, I had to do it all myself.
Wow. Even though all these peeps and friends are out here.
Well, yeah, I had a pretty fuck you attitude too to go along with that, you know. Rebellious as hell.
I noticed that one too.
Yeah. Not me. But yeah, a whole lot of fun, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's a there's a good point in here. You know, you made reference to patterns in your family. You know, where did you learn to communicate like that? Well, that's what the family did. You know, just like me. You know, my family. You know, nicest bunch ever. And you know what? And it's true. I mean, it really is. You know, the Kaplans are and the Bleckers and the Grafeos are like that, but you know, there was not much really direct things. Like nobody ever found out really what the other person uh, what was really going on. It was brushed over, you know. But if it was talked about, it was talked about outside of your presence. You heard it from your cousin or your uncle or.
Yeah, but the thing was is that everybody knew about it, right? You
Oh
know.
yeah, yep, yep, yep. Everybody knew about it. Everybody did it, and it was like a loop. And it was a loop that I would imagine, that I had, that I just broke out of, similar to the way that you did. Just go about it different. Once you see something, once you see it, and you started this off, I think, we're saying that at first you didn't see it. I mean, I didn't either. I was like,
Either that or maybe I saw it, but I didn't pay attention because
yeah,
it's normal. You know, it's like in my family, we all complain about shit, but to talk about it, oh, hell no.
yep. There just came about some things once I started to see where I was at, that they were just not acceptable anymore. They just could not. It became, once you see something, wow, then the excuses for not dealing with it. I think I told a story about my dad who passed away in 2011, who dealt with my brother and his family and a series of just almost weekly bouts with domestic violence and substance abuse. And my brother's family didn't live close either. My dad would literally travel once a week 2 hours to try to mediate some dispute in the best, quote, nicest way that he knew how. um, it perpetuated. I didn't get involved in it until after my dad passed away, and I started to see what the hell was going on there. And one time, I got a, when I got a good picture of what communication is about, that it takes two to tango, and that reality that was going on in my brother's house, just like the reality that goes on in my house, is held in place because of the way we communicate, because of the way that we use these first three functions. I let the dude have it, from little brother, to, I said, you're going to deal with this, or it's going to be dealt with by the police, and if you're going to treat, your family like this, then guess what? Little brother me is going to get involved.
Well, I think the other part that comes with this too, in having tools like these, you also have to learn what battles to pick. Even though you came at your brother like, I'm gonna be, the guy to step in and blah blah blah, in the same respect, they're still gonna make their mistakes. Like, there was still police involved in what your brother was going through and stuff like that. Same with my own family,
Yeah.
But for me, I also had to know or gain awareness that it's my responsibility how I am about things, and it's someone else's responsibility how they are about things that they do. You can give somebody all the information in the world, but what they do with it is something else.
Yeah. I think I know what you mean. I think what you're saying too, maybe we can pull up the graphic of just one of the triangles, because we're covering now the third of 7 concepts. We covered the tools in the first part of this, and there's a chart. Maybe Terry will put it up, so I'll kind of remind everybody too how each of the tools we covered in the first half of this summit series are things that you could do and be more effective at. You can pick them up, and just like any artisan or craftsman or human being, use these tools that you already have to improve how you get along. And the improved part is very much, however you weight that. Terry, where's can you put up the chart that lists on the left side the tools? There we go. So in the first 15, 16 days of this summit series, we went down the left side of the tools. Then we switched over, I think, somewhere around early last week, and started with the B1 function. And if you look at the left side, the tool associated with the B1 function is programming. Think about that. You got, if you're going to clear the pathway and maximize your energy, just like you would in a computer, you're going to clean up the places where it's conflicting. In fact, if you're conflicting, how are you then going to even deal with people in relationships? I mean, it's gonna, that B1 part is going to affect everything you do in your relationships. Moving the assemblage point, which we loosely refer to as changing points of view, just to give you guys a more common term, but it's way more encompassing, is another tool that, that tool deals with harmony. B1's all about cleaning up your own shit. Harmony is about, being in harmony with other things, other people. And, it deals with all aspects of harmony. We covered that earlier this week. And here we are today in do function. And we go back and refer to communication, a tool. Why is it a tool? Well, you already communicate. The question is, how do you do it? What's your model for that? The Kaplan family model of communication was, now, don't deal with things directly. It ain't polite. Well, they had to consider over time, like, what the hell's the reality that I created based on that? And it was pretty much that everything gets held in place, and, all the dirty laundry just goes under the carpet. So here we are now at do function. Why is communication the tool that releases the energy governed by do function? Because, well, communication does shit. As Jenny said, we were pointing out, it's not even verbal. It's more often nonverbal. When you get trained as a business lawyer, like I am, one of the things that they tell you is, I don't know where they get this percentage, but before they send you off into court, they talk to you about what it is to be in court and to be in front of either a judge who's going to make a decision and or a jury. And lawyers are prone to point out that doing that craft, most of what you're doing, I think I've heard the percentage 80%. I don't know where they get it, but I think it makes the point that I want to make, is nonverbal. Yeah, look at the kid. Look at Colin Kaepernick. So these three functions that we've now put out on the table are like a unit. Think about that, right? These things go together, hence the triangle. B1. It's a function of your programming. What's going on? How do you look at the world? How do you assemble it? How does the other person assemble it? That wasn't a Kaplan family thing that we would even engage in that inquiry. It was more a standoffish thing. Well, if you're gonna, because I did that, wasn't much opportunity ever for me until I got into this work to really figure out what the hell the other person was saying. Before that, it was just what I thought they said. I looked at the world through my own lens, through that assemblage point that I brought with me. And so now we've connected three functions together as a unit to make the point of something that all of us already do. This is a model of relationships. And if any of these things are off, which if they are off, you're going to see that mostly in the reality that you live in, as unpopular as that might be. I've heard from some people that, they tend to not want to look at this. I've always thought that if there's a pile of junk sitting in front of me, I'd maybe, take a look at it and own up to that. Check out this chart. This one kind of makes the point of a lack of alignment, or something's funky in the triangle on the left. It ain't even pointing toward the triangle on the right, like two ships passing in the night. Before I came on, I was watching a video, and it was interesting. It was two people talking about Black Lives Matter movement, but it was just a 5-minute argument. There was no reaching across. It was just a heated, let me make my point, let me be right. And it was an interesting video, and it had a lot of likes on it, but it wasn't what I'd call a communication, where you actually try to figure out how someone looks at the world, and find places where it overlaps with how you look at it. Why would
So
you? Go ahead.
they agreed to disagree? Was that what?
It's exactly what it happened at the end. That may have even been the quote when time was out, and the moderator who just stood by and watched this epic argue fest with everybody restating their opinion, finally said, well, I guess you guys will just have to agree to disagree. They didn't even agree to that.
Well, it insists that this it insists. Yeah, William wants to add his 2 cents.
Yeah.
It insists that things will stay the same. You know, we're gonna have the people with Black Lives Matter, and then whoever else is arguing about it. You know, so there's nothing that was going to change in that instance in that video, even though they're both fighting for something, right?
Yep. 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 And yep. They both had points. They were both things that they both deeply cared about. Um, that was true, but seeing that with the other person was not something that was allowed in there. Questions? Comments? Where does this where does this come from, John? You're at where you know this is this model. I mean, maybe we've touched that question before. You know, I think you said. I mean, you know that we have 6 or 7 parts is just because, well, it has 6 or 7 parts. It could have 10, 12, 14, 17.
Well, the first time I heard it, well, it actually comes from Mumford, who wrote in the late 1800s, and from Korzybski. But you have to take what they're talking about apart and put it back together again to see it.
So they didn't. This is your kind of pull it apart and put it back together again thing.
Well, part of this is Gene Albright's pull it apart and put it back together. And then I took what Gene did and pulled it apart and put it back together with the help of some Navajo sand paintings.
Wow. I'm curious how the Navajo sand paintings came to play
Well,
in symbolism.
because the Navajo sand paintings are about this particular concept over and over and over and over and over again, but through different iterations of it, let's say. And once you know, it took me a while to start looking at those paintings, but why did they use this bird and this quadrant and so forth? And it's like, once you start understanding how they thought about those birds, that okay, that it wasn't that, then it started coming together. And I'm not going to spend hours. You can go look it up yourself.
What was just curious? What was Gene Albright doing with this? What was he?
Gene was he thought that it was a delta event, and people used to use what he did to trip, and at least they did that until one night Joe didn't come back.
Okay.
And, Joe went into the places where Gene drove people when he talked about this stuff, and he found a place he liked better than that hard floor there in the Silva Mine Control main office. He just didn't come back, and the cops came and they said, "Well, Gene, you know, we don't understand what you're doing, but we don't want you to do it no more." And so that kind of ended that. And so I didn't think that what it took me a while to understand how it was that Gene used this to do what he did. And it's like I don't think that's okay. I don't think Gene was wrong. I think in those days that it looked as though that was a legit thing to do. It turned out that it wasn't.
Like, yeah, kind of like a, here's my purpose. I'll use this and drive you down into a very slow brainwave.
Well, let me put it this way. When I was a kid, my grandfather plowed his hilly fields straight up and down because that's how the tractor could do it. The tractor wasn't safe going back and forth across the hill. And the ag guy came out. It took him 2 years to convince Clay to start strip farming because he was losing too much soil down the Muncie Creek. And my grandfather, it took him a while to understand that, 2 years worth. And that's just how you have to do things if you're going to communicate with hard-headed people, I think. And it's like Gene was trying to let's say, jumpstart that or strap around that or bridge across that without people having to wade through that nasty water that they themselves poured into that place. And if they don't clean it up, then they don't know how it got there, as my opinion.
Yeah, if they don't clean it up, then they don't know how it got there. I think you say that because to emphasize your point moments ago about communication as an event. Well, it's an event. You know, it's.
Yeah, and it's like if I continue to drive on certain vibrations, I can make that event take place at different levels of thought. And Gene did that. He used this set of information, this data set, as a means to drive very deep vibrations in the brain and actually get you outside of get you to be thinking outside of the body itself. And that's a nice thing to do, but you can't really program people to do that. And if you do, then they have a tendency to not understand what it is they're using, especially if you're not going to train them about how to use it.
Well, that makes sense. That's like, that's more of a deep hypnosis kind of thing. And here's a tool, pick it up, use it, try it on, have fun with it or don't have fun with it, approach.
Well, here's the thing. From my perspective personally, okay, just between you, me, and the fence post, since nobody else is listening. Okay? Okay, all right, just between you and me then.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opinion like this, is that if it's true that there is some other entity, some spiritual entity that expresses itself through functions, and you're aware of that, and it's true, would you see those functions if you knew what to look for? And then if you saw those functions and you knew what to look for, would you be able to ascertain that you could take advantage of what those functions do in terms of energy? Like specific function is a type of energy control, right? Kind of like water is a certain type of energy, and the type of energy that you use to control that's different than the control that you use for electrical energy, let's say. Or
yep.
the controls that you use for solar energy, or for wave energy, or for heat energy, or for steam energy, there's all kinds of other energies, right? And each of those energies have methods of controlling them, and it's not the same method because the energy itself, the nature of the energy itself, changes due to the function of that energy, right?
Yeah, let me say that a little differently and see if maybe I can paint a picture, then another perspective here. You deal with programming. You deal with your own programming. I could point to the computer that I'm on, but every people that are hanging on this summit series may be thinking about their own patterns in programming. When I dealt with that, holy shit, it's like cleaning up energy. That shouldn't surprise anybody. It didn't surprise me. Well, it's like palpable, because if you got something that's weighing you down, I don't care what it is, you're not big enough, you're not good enough, nobody, whatever. You just clean that up, energy.
That's what happens when you run a cleanup program from one of those programs that protect your computer.
Yeah,
McCaffrey or something. Doesn't that do exactly that? It throws out the garbage and condenses stuff into more manageable ideas, and so that defragments it and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, just like that.
Okay, that's the same thing that using larger abstractions oftentimes do. Okay, and you start with programming, and you begin to look at your own programming and it defrags somehow or the other, and you have more thought energy.
Yeah.
Well, that's computing energy that is governed by being at one with yourself.
Yeah. I can use a similar example from sitting in a room negotiating some legal matter. The difference between sitting there for an hour and arguing and having the group on both sides come together and create something and do something harmonic. That's a
Okay,
that's a
but
powerful.
that's a different energy.
Yep.
And you know what? You got to give something to get something in harmony. You
Yeah.
have to change your assemblage point, right?
Yep.
You got to move that. You can't look at the world the same way that you came into the bargain with. I mean, you can see the same world, but you can't give it the same values all the way through and make the deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I really do want to know, like, what it is that, what do they want? What is, what's their, like, wish list here? How do they see things? And
There you go. So how do you accomplish that? You accomplish it through communication. Because when they say, this is what we want, and you say, well, I can do part of that, but I can't do this part for this reason. How do we fix that? And they say, well, what if you did it this way? And you say, oh, yeah, we could do that. That does something, doesn't it?
yep, absolutely. I've been,
And that communication releases a different type of energy than either harmony or programming, etc.
yeah, for 2 to 3 days, I've been going back and forth on a sale of a business matter where both sides are communicating about what they want to come out with this deal. And over the last 2 or 3 days, what's happened is that we've narrowed the issues from, say, 15. Ooh, it's really close now. Both sides are now seeing that there's a deal here because they're figuring out what the other side wants. They're expressing what they want. They're considering what the other side want, and they're moving their position so that the deal can be done. That's a communications due energy.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, let's see what else here. Who do we got that's wants to come on and have a little chats with me here? I see some new faces, but what's going on, Pat Jones? How you doing? You around, Pat?
You are unmuted.
Oh, that's not Pat, but how you doing tonight, Greg?
I'm doing great. I'm doing very good.
How's Kathy
This
doing?
is Kathy's doing good. She's so strong. She's doing so much better.
Great.
Everything's good. She got a full knee replacement, and for a couple of days we were wondering if she's gonna be okay, and now she's excelling. They told her staples out sooner and start the rehab. So,
Okay.
but everything you said makes so much sense. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah. What do you like? Because I know that, like, like, you're a married guy. Like, these issues, come hand in hand with relationships, and marriage and relationships are just one of those places where we have a wealth of experiences to draw upon for these things that we've been talking about here. Be one, and are we communicating, and we seeing what the other party's even saying.
Ken, from being involved in these sessions, I've been communicating so much better.
No doubt.
We've been talking. We've been just everything is great.
It's good.
You know, in the beginning, she was upset that I'm doing this every night, you know, 8 o'clock, like, you know, you're not paying attention to me. And then she started realizing that this is good.
Yeah.
Your message is great. It's I've been listening more. She's been listening more. We've been just talking more. You know, when she's yelling at the kids, I stop talking and I let her go. And she, instead of saying, "Why are you walking away from me?" I say, "I'm not walking away from you. I just understand that you're dealing with the kids." And by the way, for everybody online, I have a 5, 3, and 1-year-old, almost 6,
Bless
4,
you.
and 2. But yeah, it's this is really good. We've been understanding each other more. We've been, I guess, you know, figuring out the assemblage point for all of us, and it's a good thing. So
Good.
I thank you. I thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for hanging in there. That's what you're talking about is what happens when you pick up tools and you start to look at how you get along, and that includes the B1. What do I got going on? What kind of programming am I running? What are they trying to say? And how am I even communicating back and forth to figure out what's going on, or what are they trying to say, or what I want to happen? And these three things go together. And yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I had the same resistance initially because I started to spend time not just being a lawyer, but being a lawyer who was really interested in these things. But the proof's really in the pudding. You know, you could ask my wife when you see her next, because I was pretty reactive and, you know, fly off the handle. And I'm sure that wasn't fun for anybody, least of which was me and the family. But, those are days of the past.
Yeah, I've been learning to just be more patient, be more understanding, be one with myself and one with her, and we're doing everything's great.
Good.
You know, especially through these tough times with the knee replacement, the surgery, everything. She's only 43. I mean,
Yeah, well,
it's
she's gonna
tough.
be
You know?
she's gonna be running circles around you soon. So you might,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So
brand new knees. Watch out, Greg.
I know. She's gonna be running laps.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And John, thank you. And this Office of Shaman is amazing for me.
Well, thanks for hanging around.
De nada.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's great. Who's around? Paul, Vanessa, you guys want to weigh in here?
I'm here, Mr. Ken. What do you want to chat about?
Paul, how are you doing? So, yeah, this is, and I know, we talk about communication in business and stuff, but I quickly saw it didn't take long that what happens in business is happening at home. And, you could talk about these as business tools or personal tools, but they're how you get along tools. Is that your experience?
Yeah. They're being a human being in the world tools.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are, what you're trying to accomplish. If it involves other people,
Yeah.
these tools, they're unrivaled. So one thing I did want to mention, when I first read the book, I was like, wow, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. So I went about writing a program for myself. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I read the book. I'm like, okay, I'm going to Kansas City, right? I can do this.
Yes.
And the truth was, Ken, that I had absolutely no idea what the hell I was doing. And the book definitely had some effects on me, even before I understood what the hell it was actually talking about.
Mhm.
And I'm bringing that up because I know Greg has been on here for a while, and other folks have been listening in for a while. And all I can say is this is a deep well. And these, this whole webinar that's going on here is an introduction. So if anyone's thinking about how amazing this introduction has been for their life, consider that I'm saying that it's a lot deeper than the introduction. That's what I wanted to share.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. I agree with that in lots of ways, just like any craft is.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. What do they say? I don't know where it takes X number of hours to be an expert. I don't know.
Oh, that's the 10,000 hours theory.
Yeah.
I've heard that. If you put 10,000 hours into anything, you're pretty much an expert.
Yeah, who knows if that, but I mean, it does point to a thing. It does absolutely point to a thing. My 3,000 hours of law school or whatever it came to got me so far, but then it got me to like, all right, Kaplan showing up for duty and quickly like realizing that, I was still a whole bunch of hours away from, strutting my stuff. So
Absolutely. I think just being able to even consider doing 10,000 hours at any one given thing is going to require a fair amount of changes and adjustments and growing and all sorts of things that you can't possibly know when you start that journey.
Yep, that's true. But even having a racket when you didn't have one makes tennis a lot more enjoyable, or having your first bowling ball at the bowling alley. So
absolutely. If it's no fun while you're going, right, while you're learning, so I agree with that entirely.
Yeah, but I agree with your deep well, as much as it's like, yeah, this is really cool. It's like, wow, it gets even better.
Exactly. That's where I'm trying to go with that.
Yeah. Cool. Good deal. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure thing.
Who else has got
Yeah,
something?
Ken, I feel like I have a racket now. I can actually, I feel like I can play now with a racket, and I can, I see things a little bit differently.
Yeah, or maybe we could say that you had a racket because you have these tools, you had access to them, but you have never really taken it apart to say, yeah, this is how I use this. I go about this way. What if I used my tools a little differently and went about it this way? What would my relationships in life be like then?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we don't learn this stuff. This is not a course in the curriculum of undergrad or high school or college or really, much else that I've encountered.
No one ever really teaches you this stuff. You just have to experience it to learn it, and everything is better. Thank you.
Better. Well, thanks for adding that. Appreciate it. Elise, how you doing tonight? I heard from you earlier. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, I was thinking about how much more fun it is to work together with other people and watch the pieces start to fall in place. That's
Elise. You can't have fun.
When you're building something. How much more fun is that than just, sitting looking at your own navel? I mean,
You can't have any of this. So
it's so when you're invested, it's a lot more fun of a game. It's just better. How could it not be? People love puzzles for a reason. They like the satisfaction of seeing all of those pieces come together, and they have to fit the way they have to fit. You can't fake it. So it's pretty darn cool, and it's even more fun when you're doing a puzzle together with other people and you start seeing it come together. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's not something to go, oh no, now I gotta work with somebody else. It's not that way at all. Even as we watch these, the podcasts come together. Yeah, we're struggling, but we also see people taking advantage of what we're doing and enjoying themselves and saying, you know, something about this is working for me. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm learning, as I go along. I'm the first to, be the first person to say that, you want to keep using it, keep at it. I don't know that there is a level of, I'm there, master. I hear people refer to things like, what do they call them? Like the Buddha, enlightenment. I think that's bullshit. I
I'm
don't
not
think
so
that's a
sure
thing.
about
I
that.
don't, yeah, well, yeah. And I don't know any lawyers that are enlightened. I certainly know ones that have more experience with tools, the abstraction of law than others, but that's what we're talking about here too. Pick it up, use it, bat it around a little bit, watch what happens. Cool.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
Elise, you're right. It's like a puzzle. And when you put it back together, you take it apart, put it back together, everything's good. Everything's better.
Yeah, 2 or more people working on it. It's cool.
Yeah, she's doing it, we're doing it, and yeah, I don't know what else to say, but this is great. We're going through a lot of stuff,
Well, that's just,
and
life.
yeah,
Life
Yep.
has stuff.
yeah,
That's not going to stop. And if you're alive, you might as well be involved.
Sounds like a good idea. As if you had a choice.
Exactly.
Okay. Vanessa, you're free of baby duties to chat, or you got a handful? Because what kind of night would it be if I didn't have my friend Vanessa pop on? And
She might be dealing with Luke. His teeth are coming in, I guess.
yeah, I know that's
But maybe we'll hear.
okay. Terry, can you post somewhere so that the folks that are listening can watch the what's the video? What's it called? Reality Creation.
Oh, the one with the information packets and the crystal.
Yeah, I like it. It goes on. It's about it's I think it's about 50 minutes, but it's good. It's a good 50 minutes. It talks a lot about from a scientific perspective what we're talking about here. How is reality created? What are the building blocks? And in one part of the video, if you watch it, you'll see they talk about how the fundamental building block of reality is information. They do it in kind of a funny way. They have 2 scientists in cartoon form arguing. I think one says, it's information. The other says, no, it's energy. It's information. No, it's energy. And then one says, what do you think energy is? It's information. But they're pointing out that, really what we're talking about here is building reality. Does that sound so far-fetched that you do that all day long? I guess maybe it did for me when I first thought about it, but now if I want to know my participation and my role in reality creation, I need only look around and take a good gander at what's in my life in terms of relationships and everything else to say, oh yeah, I built this. Well, that's a function of what we're talking about. It's a function of programming. It's a function of harmonic issues and harmony, and it's especially a function of communication, because the building blocks of reality are information. And guess what? Guess what communication is? It's an exchange of what? Who's got
Nation.
information? We'll post that for you guys to check out. Any other questions, comments? How about from you, Pat Jones? You hanging in there tonight, or you're just listening in the background? Or Pam?
I'm here. I'm listening.
Hey, Pam. Thanks
Hey.
for your communication of information today in the form of an email that contained your ideas for landscaping at the Quantum Floats new
Yeah,
site.
you're welcome. Yeah, I'd like to, run over it with you. So if we could set up a time to meet, that would be great.
Yep. I appreciated not only that the information that you conveyed in your email had a pictorial representation of where things would be with certain trees, but you even included pictures of the trees and things. So I got a real good idea about what you're talking about.
Yeah, and nothing's set in stone. Like if there's anything you didn't like, obviously that could be changed up.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
For those that haven't seen it before, that picture back there on the wall, I don't know how well you can see that.
I can see it pretty good.
You see it pretty good? That's the new home of Quantum Floats. It's about, it looks just like that right now. Well, the landscaping's not done, but that's why I'm talking to Pam. And also, if you were to peek through the windows, you'd see that the walls aren't up yet, but it's getting there. And when it's open, say in the fall, we're going to move out of this place, turn the lights off, and move in there. We just reopened here in Bedminster about a week ago, post-COVID. So for those that have access to the central Jersey area, come on down. We're now floating people again. We're doing things a little more cautiously in terms of staggering appointments and cleaning the rooms. And we got UV lights, and we take temperatures, and all sorts of now new protocols to keep clients safe. Floating's got a built-in social isolation aspect to it too, as you guys might already know. It's not a two-person in the tank thing. It's you're in your own room. I guess you can say by definition it is social isolation.
And Ken, where's that new float center? Is that in Bedminster?
Yep, it's in Bedminster. Because I know you know the area. You know where Little Pickles is, the bagel place? Or how about Pluck 'em in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do.
It's catty corner. It's pretty much across the street from the Pluck 'em in.
Is there a Pluck 'em in? Yeah. No, I know where that is. It's great. It's local. We'll be down. My wife, once she gets her knee done, once she gets back, she's coming down. Okay. And she says I need to come down too.
Well, please, yeah, come down. I'm sitting here now, so I'm not saying you have to come down now, but I'm here all the time. Well, a lot.
I'll be there, Ken.
All right, good deal. So, okay, thanks for hanging tonight. We talked about do function. We're going to talk about do function again tomorrow night, and then on what's tomorrow? Wednesday? And then tomorrow's Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay, and then we'll move to specific function from there. But we got one more night of do function, so we'll see you all tomorrow at 8 p.m. I'll hang here for a minute or two or three in case anybody wants to chat. Just pop something in the chat box. I don't mind hanging, and nice to meet some. I can see.
Just for what it's worth, we have another concert tonight. I'll go broadcast from over there if you'll turn my camera on.
Yep, we'll turn
And,
your camera
and you guys, I don't know if anything is happening at the moment, but we can, if you, we'll do what we can do, okay?
on. Okay. So for those that want to hang, and you'll hear a little bit of music, and the rest I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, leave the channel open so we can listen.
Yeah, I'll keep it open. Let's see if I can get John's camera on here.
Thanks.
And John, I'd love to listen.
Let's see.
Okay. Well, let's get you over here.
Hey, Terry or Vanessa, is there anything in
No,
particular?
hi Ken. Sorry, I have a teething baby.
You got a baby.
It looks like he can already do the video.
Okay. So maybe he just needs to do it on his end.
Yeah, you can turn on your video, I think. Dubs.
All right, well, I'm going to sit back and relax.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can find where they put the
Okay.
microphone.
Enjoy the music.
I asked for a microphone and they didn't do it. So the microphone. Microphone.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
Teresa is asking about how to watch the previous videos, and I know you guys have them available. Can you answer her on chat or verbally?
Yep. I think Teresa is still on, so I'm going to ask Vanessa to comment if I don't get this right. But I think what we have, Teresa, is that all of the previous videos are posted on a YouTube channel. And I think the channel is called Office of Shaman Summit.
And I'll look for a link right now and post it on the chat there.
Okay, post it on the chat. That sounds good. And for everyone else, including Teresa, there's that platform or that website, that app called Cloud, is a place where the audio recordings are. So you can listen to the audio recordings, and I recorded some of them and Elise did, and they go chapter by chapter. So we've got every chapter of the book covered in an audio recording as well. But thanks for the question, Teresa. I'm going to mute myself.
¿Eres? No. It's just different. ¿Cómo estás? Ese es por unos gentes de los Estados Unidos que está escuchando de otro evento para nosotros. Si quieres tocar algo para ellos.
Muchas gracias, claro. Gracias por estarnos acompañando. Thanks for the sour with us tonight. I'm Mario Blanco, and I have the rocket our job tonight. My music, my job. Thank you very much. Gracias. We are ready for start.
Gracias.
Gracias.
There you guys. There you go, guys. Little taste.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Greg, I think you can find it live on Facebook too, on maybe on the Artis Mentalis page.
Well, thank you all. I'm looking at, I think we lost the link into Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Thanks for hanging and because
Yeah, Ken?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you might be able to find the music on Facebook Live by going to the Artis Mentalis Facebook page on if you on there because they broadcast it live.
It's Artes, Artes. Mentalis is like mental, Mentales.
Right.
Harry,
Yeah.
Harry, if you can probably put it on the chat or on the Slack channel for them.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.
Good night.